I don't mind losing too, but there's nothing like doing nothing with you. Dumb conversation, we lose track of time. Have I told you lately I'm grateful you're mine? We'll watch The Notebook for the 17th time. I'll say it's stupid and you'll catch me crying. We're not making out on the boat in the rain or in a house I painted blue. But there's nothing like doing nothing with you. So shut all the windows and lock all the doors. We're not looking for no one, don't need nothing more. You'll bite my lip and I'll want you more, until we end up in a heap on the floor. You could be dancing on tabletops, wearing high heels, drinking until the world spins like a wheel. But tonight your apartment has so much appeal. Who needs stars? We've got a roof, and there's nothing like doing nothing with you. No, there's nothing like doing nothing with you.
I wanna write you a song, one as beautiful as you are sweet, with just a hint of pain for the feeling that I get when you are gone. I wanna write you a song. I wanna lend you my coat, one that's as soft as your cheek. So when the world is cold, you will have a hiding place you can go. I wanna lend you my coat. Ooh, everything I need I get from you. Ooh, giving back is all I wanted to. I wanna build you a boat, one as strong as you are free. So anytime you think that your heart is gonna sink, you know it won't. I wanna build you a boat. Ooh, everything I need I get from you. Ooh, giving back is all I wanted to. Ooh, everything I need I get from you. Ooh, giving back is all I wanna do. I wanna write you a song, one to make your heart remember me. So anytime I'm gone, you can listen to my voice and sing along. I wanna write you a song. I wanna write you a song. We found our place on the branch of an old gum tree. Our feet would sway to a voice in the breeze. And birds would sing on the banks of a narrow stream. These memories will stay with me.
First things first, I'ma say all the words inside my head. I'm fired up. my love, my time to get from. Hey, you burn me up, believer. Third things third, send a prayer to the ones up above. All the hate that you've heard has turned your spirit to a dove. Oh, ooh, your spirit up above. Oh, ooh. I was choking in the crowd, building my brain up in the cloud, falling like ashes to the ground, hoping my feelings, they would drown, but they never did, ever lived, ebbing and flowing, inhibited, limited, till it broke up and it rained down like. Hey, you burn me up, believer. Hey, you burn me up, believer. Hey, let the borders down, let them rain. My love, my God, it came from. Hey, you burn me up, believer. Last days last by the grace of the fire and the flames. You're the face of the future, the blood in my veins. Oh, ooh, the blood in my veins. Oh, ooh. But they never did, ever lived, ebbing and flowing, inhibited, limited, till it broke up when it rained down. It rained down like. Hey, you burn me up, believer. Let the borders down, let them rain. My love, my God, it came from. Hey, you burn me up, believer.
Yeah, you can be the greatest, you can be the best, you can be the King Kong banging on your chest.
You can beat the world, you can beat the war. You can talk the guy, go banging on his door.
You can throw your hands up, you can beat the clock.
Yeah.
You can move a mountain, you can break rocks.
You can be a master, don't wait for luck. Dedicate yourself and you go find yourself.
Standing in the Hall of Fame,
Yeah,
and the world's gonna know your name.
yeah,
'Cause you burn with the God's flame,
yeah,
and the world's gonna know your name.
yeah.
And you'll be on the wall to the Hall of Fame. You can go the distance, you can run the mile, you can walk straight through hell with a smile.
You could be the hero, you can get the gold. Breaking all the records they thought never could be broke.
Yeah, do it for your people, do it for your pride. And you're never gonna know if you never even try.
Do it for your country, do it for your name. Cause there's gonna be a day when you're
Standing in the Hall of Fame, and the world's gonna know your name. 'Cause you burn with the God's flame, and the world's gonna know your name. And you'll be on the wall to the Hall of Fame. Be a champion, be a champion, be a champion, be a champion. On the wall to the Hall of Fame. Be students, be teachers, be politicians, be preachers. Yeah. Be believers, be leaders, be astronauts, be champions, be truth seekers. Be students, be teachers, be politicians, be preachers. Yeah. Be believers, be leaders, be astronauts, be champions. Standing in the Hall of Fame, and the world's gonna know your name. 'Cause you burn with the God's flame, and the world's gonna know your name. And you'll be on the wall to the Hall of Fame. You can be the greatest, you can be the
can be the chain car hanging on your chest. You can be a girl, you can be the boy. You can find a child hanging on the wall. You can throw your hands up, you can be the clock. You can move a mountain, you can break rocks. You can be a master, don't wait for luck. Dedicate your jumping, get your body first. Standing in the house of fame.
If life hasn't hit you yet, it will. Some get beat to their knees. But to a strong mind, the blows of life are nothing.
Hi, Giri, I'm here.
There are nothing but challenges. And every challenge can be overcome.
Hi, Giri.
Hey, hi, Uncle Mahin. Yeah, I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Should I share
great.
and see if it works?
Okay. Let me ask Zarif. Zarif, boleh Prof cuba share screen sekarang ke? Ada peluang ke?
My hair is a little bit unruly. It's okay, my hair, it's okay, Giri?
Yeah, it's alright. It's good.
It's Selamat Petang, right?
Yeah, your hair is alright. I'm getting feedback from my voice. Are you able to hear my voice?
Yeah, I can hear your voice. Can you hear my voice?
Yeah. Okay. Oh, I survived. Okay. All right.
I just want to make sure that they can see the share screen, right?
Yeah, you can try. You can go ahead and try.
Okay. The English translation is graduate attributes to power Malaysia's IR 4.0, right? Am I correct?
Yeah. Like you had suggested.
So I just put this
Yeah.
graduate attributes to power Malaysia's IR 4.0.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah. Go ahead. No, not a problem.
So can you see the full screen?
Yeah, we can see your presentation as well as the window. Yeah, but it's not full though.
Is that full?
As in, it's displaying the other slides as well.
Hold on, let me just stop sharing. Okay, let's see if I can pull it. Where is this thing now? Oh, I can't see whether. Can you see? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
yeah, Ken. You're
I don't know
audible. Yes, yes, I can hear you.
where are you? I can't see now that I minimized it. Where does it show? How do I get it back? Huh?
Minimize what? What have you minimized?
I just minimized the thing. How do I go back to the full screen?
You mean the stream? You mean Google Stream?
Yeah.
At the bottom, maybe you could check at the bottom of your taskbar on your desktop. There should be Chrome open.
Chrome. Chrome. I don't have a Chrome here. How do I log out and then come back in? Oh, okay. Okay, there you go.
Sorry.
Yeah, I got it. I got it.
All right. Okay.
So let's see if I can share this thing.
Yeah.
Now I shut down everything. Windows. Screen. Come I can't see now. Let's relax. Okay. So what do you see now? Do you see the full screen? Do you see a full screen, Giri?
No, I don't see your screen being presented. Maybe
Okay.
maybe
Maybe let's see. Okay, share, right? Cancel. Let's see, share screen. How is that now? Can you see?
Yep. Yes. Now it's visible. Yep.
So I can put it on a
You can go to full screen.
on
You
a
can go
presentation.
into presentation mode. Yeah.
Is that now? Is it on a presentation mode?
It's still no. It hasn't gone to presentation mode.
Why is that? Huh? I have it on a
Try.
presentation.
Are you seeing the full screen of it or how?
No, I'm now on a presentation mode.
Okay. Try going into full screen. Have you tried switching it to full screen?
Okay. When I
Okay.
move, can you see my slide move?
Have you switched your slide yet?
Yeah, I just moved to the slide. Can you see?
The first one. Are you on the first one?
I'm now on the second slide.
No. It hasn't moved. You're still on
Is
the
it
first one.
moving?
That's what I'm seeing.
Okay.
Okay, now
Not
it's on
sure
the
why.
second.
So I think I probably have to do this. No, I don't know why this is your sharing thing is not working. What do you see now? Is it in a shared mode or not?
We can see your presentation.
Is
It's
it
a
in
window.
shared mode or not?
It's on. It's we can see the presentation. Yes, but
So
it's
is it now the
still.
second slide?
I know it's on the first slide.
I think something is not right with the software. I think your software is not in presentation mode.
Probably.
So
Now
probably have.
you've gone to. Okay, you can try again.
Let's see. Okay. So now let me just share. It's not a video file, a share screen, right?
Yeah. Share screen. Yes.
So, okay. So what do you see? It's
Okay, we see the presentation window. Now you're on slide 2. You're on slide 3. You're 4. You're in 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,
So, but
11.
it's not on a presentation mode though. When I put it in a presentation mode, I don't think you can see it, right?
You
See
want
the
to try
thing,
again? You can try again. Try switching to presentation mode.
Grace. Can you see it? Is it moving? Is it moving?
Oh no. Okay, I think I know what might be the issue. Uncle, my professor, are you sharing through your entire window, or are you showing just one window?
I'm just using one window. That's it.
Okay. So professor, why don't you try sharing your entire screen, and then you go into full screen, you go into presentation mode for the slide. You want to try that? Why
Okay,
don't you
so
try that?
let me just stop sharing. Okay, let's stop sharing, and then I go to the share, right? Share screen. So do I share the entire screen?
Yeah, yeah. Try that, professor.
Share, but I can't see my slides. Okay, can you see the slides? Is it coming?
No, not okay. Wait.
Okay, now let's see if I
Yes.
can.
Okay. All right.
Does that
Yep.
work?
Now it's visible. Yes. So you try going through the slides. Yep.
Can you see
Yep.
the Can you see the change?
Yes. We can see the change.
So I have.
At the bottom there, you should be able to see a small notification bar saying, you are now presenting. Whether you should stop presenting or hide. You
Yeah,
just
yeah,
have to
yeah.
click
Stop sharing
hide.
or not, right? Yeah, that's right.
So you just click hide to remove that, because we can see that as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if later when you're done with your presentation, you can you know how to come out of it. Yeah.
So I just then go there, right?
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Okay. So we'll start now in about 2 minutes, Professor.
Okay. Yep. No
All
problem.
right. So uh, Professor, could you stop sharing your screen for a while?
Okay. Stop sharing the screen.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. It's all right. Actually,
Okay.
you can keep it as it is.
Okay. I'll leave it as it is.
And
Then
then
you guys can
yeah.
adjust it, lah.
Yeah. All right. So we'll begin shortly. Alright, okay, baiklah. Salam sejahtera. Jejaran mengkudu berbias kesuma, dicelah angsana di tanah Jawa. Ucapan aluan pembuka bicara, di alam maya kita bersua. Yang dihormati mahasiswa-mahasiswi sekalian dan para penonton. Cantik sulaman disemat teliti, tampak indah bersama tiara. Doa dipimpin, ilmu diberkati. Bismillah dimula membuka bicara. Bagi memberkati program webinar STEM 3.0, marilah kita sama-sama mulakan program kita dengan bacaan doa. Oleh itu, saya menjemput saudara Muhammad Amirul Aiman bin Zulkifli bagi memimpin bacaan doa. Dipersilakan.
Al-Fatihah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala al-ashrafil mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Allahumma innaka qalaqul azim, innaka sami'un alim, innaka ghafurur rahim, innaka rabbul arsyil azim, innaka baru wajadul karim. Ya Allah, Engkaulah yang mempunyai segala kepujian. Engkaulah yang berhak menerima segala pujian. Engkaulah yang berhak menerima segala kesyukuran. Engkaulah yang memiliki segala pemerintahan. Di tangan Engkau segala kebajikan. Kepada Engkaulah kembali segala urusan. Allahumma ya Karim ya Rahim. Cucurilah rahmat dan rahimmu ke atas webinar STEM 3.0 yang diadakan pada malam ini. Berkatikanlah ia dari awal hingga akhirnya. Ya fa'lu lima yurid. Kami juga mohon perlindunganmu daripadamu dari segala perkara yang boleh mencecah celakan majlis kami dan daripada segala perkara yang melalaikan kami dari perbuatan kepadamu. Kepadamu juga kami serah segala urusan kami. Rabbana alaika tawakkalna wa ilaika anabna wa ilaikal masir. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina azabannar. Sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.
Terima kasih saudara Amirul atas bacaan doa itu tadi. Selamat datang diucapkan kepada semua mahasiswa-mahasiswi serta panel kita pada hari ini. Saya Arunagiri Seyuan Lam selaku moderator anda. Terima kasih kepada anda semua yang berada di rumah dan juga di kampus universiti kerana sudi meluangkan masa untuk menghadiri program ini. Webinar Nasional STEM 3.0 merupakan kesinambungan siri Klub Sains dan Teknologi dalam misi menyemarakkan minda modal insan dengan keindahan dunia sains dan penggunaan asas-asas sains dalam industri bagi menambahbaikan taraf hidup masyarakat serta dunia. Selaras dengan hala tuju kerajaan ke arah revolusi industri 4.0, bidang sains, kejuruteraan, matematik dan teknologi merupakan unsur penting yang perlu diberi lebih perhatian dalam memastikan misi dan visi bidang tersebut selari dengan matlamat kerajaan. Salah satu objektif program ini adalah untuk mendedahkan secara lebih mendalam mahasiswa-mahasiswi yang bakal bergraduasi dalam bidang STEM dan pada satu hari nanti bakal menceburkan diri di industri. Oleh itu, webinar ini diberi tajuk Keperluan Graduan STEM dalam memacu Malaysia ke arah Revolusi Industri 4.0. Sekiranya anda amat menyukai bahan-bahan kami dan ingin mendapat perkembangan terkini, tekan butang like dan loceng peringatan dan jangan lupa subscribe kepada saluran kami. Jangan lupa juga untuk ambil screenshot dan tag kami di STC UTHM Official dekat Instagram. Majlis ini akan diteruskan dalam bahasa Inggeris. STEM is a field consisting of the industries science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, which are fundamental in the development of a country as well as the quality of living of its people. In the last few decades, we have seen much of our livelihood improving with the aid of STEM, ranging from continuous research, infrastructure development, medical aid, to name a few. It is this testimony which also drives our country's leaders to imbibe a deep interest for science and mathematics in our future leaders through education. The rapid advancement of technology all over the world is also leading us into a new age, the fourth industrial revolution. And Malaysia aims to prepare its young leaders to adapt to the new phase. To take us through the skill sets STEM graduates need to power Malaysia's IR 4.0, we have with us a very special guest tonight. I would like to introduce Professor Mahendhiran Sanggaran Nair from Sunway University. Professor Mahendhiran Sanggaran Nair is the Pro Vice Chancellor in Research, Engagement and Impact at Sunway University, Malaysia. He is trained as an econometrician and data scientist and holds a PhD from York University, Canada. He is a fellow of the Academy of Sciences Malaysia, a fellow of CPA Australia, a member of the National Science Council of Malaysia, chaired by the Prime Minister of Malaysia, and the High Tech Nation Council of Malaysia, chaired by the Minister of Science, Technology and Innovation. Professor Nair is also a member of the Leadership Council of the United Nations Sustainable Development Solutions Network, SDSN Malaysia. He is the architect for the development of the 1010 Malaysian Science, Technology, Innovation and Economic Framework, STIE, which is widely used by government agencies, universities, and industry in Malaysia. He has published his research work in leading peer-reviewed international journals and has been subject matter expert for government agencies, industry associations, and community organizations in the region. His current research interests and work are in the following areas: science, technology, innovation, and economics, STIE, policy modeling, development economics, behavioral econometrics, planetary health, and sustainable development. Welcome, Professor Mahendran. Lovely to have you with us today.
Thank you very much, Arunagiri. It's really a pleasure to be here with the students. 9 o'clock, I'm sure all of you all are resting or having your dinner, or and you've got to put up with me for another hour and a half. So selamat petang to all the mahasiswa and mahasiswi. Good evening. And let me first take this opportunity to thank the student body from University Tun Hussein Malaysia, Arunagiri and his team, for inviting me to present this important topic for the country. And so please allow me to speak about some of the key changes that are happening to the global economy and also to the Malaysian economy. And much of it is powered by technology, science, technology, and innovation. And there are major structural changes that are happening in the economy, and that is causing, you probably would have heard this term called the VUCA world: volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world that we live in. And how do we manage this? How do graduates, what kind of graduate attributes or graduate skill sets that you need to have to ensure that you have the skill sets to be able to be employed or create new employment? It's not just looking for jobs, but you can also now create new employment. So the mindset is starting to change, and the opportunities are there. So this evening, I'm going to speak about the changes that are happening globally, and the role of technology, particularly Industry 4.0, and where the opportunities are, and what do you need to do, what skill sets you need to be able to ensure that you either are employed in a high income job, or you create employment so that you're able to contribute to the nation's socioeconomic development. I was quite fortunate to be able to work in an area that is multidisciplinary. And I just want to tell you the background that I come from so that you know the discussion that is going to be very important. I come from the STEM background. So my undergraduate was in mathematics, and then I did my master's in mathematical statistics. Then I went on to do a second master's in economics, and then I did my PhD in an area called data science and econometrics, where we study the behavior of firms, consumers using mathematical modeling. Now we call it data science, right? So I come from a multidisciplinary perspective, and you'll see that this is going to be critical in this new economy. So please allow me to share my slides.
Go ahead,
Can you see my
Professor.
slide?
With-
Can you see my
Yes,
slides?
yes, we can. Yes.
So I'm going to talk about STEM graduates and Malaysia's IR 4.0, the skill sets or the graduate attributes that you need to have to be able to not just contribute to Malaysia, but also contribute to human development and become a global citizen. So I want to tell you about the structural changes that are happening in the global economy. The global economy has been rapidly developing because of science, technology, and innovation, STI. And it started 300 over years ago with steam engines. So before steam engine, people were using horses. And we see that when steam engine came, it replaced horses, and we started seeing major industrial development from steam engine. And that is in 1784. And then we started seeing that major developments in science and technology led to the discovery of electricity, and there was a shift in the value to society development. And that went on for many, many years until in 1960s, we saw the computer and electronics revolution that took place. All these are powered by science, technology, R&D, and we saw another shift in our development. So computers and electronics played a major role, and that continued to develop. We saw the discovery of internet and a whole range of other technologies that came in. And more recently, in the last 10 years, we saw the integration of systems, what we call cyber physical. We saw the cyber world connecting to the physical world, and we started seeing new technologies like Internet of Things and others emerging. And this cyber physical system is called the Industry 4.0, because we had Industry 1.0 is steam engine, Industry 2.0 is electricity, Industry 3 is computers and electronics, Industry 4 is the cyber physical systems. But what is happening is that a lot of our foresighting is starting to show that this is now moving to a higher level, where we are starting to see over the next 20 years, autonomous intelligent systems are going to run pretty much every facet of human life, from astronomy right up to zoology. So we're starting to see this change. So over the last few years, last 3 years, government has put in a lot of policies to help Malaysia adapt to Industry 4.0. Most developed countries are moving at a faster pace in terms of some of them are Industry 4.5 and moving to the next phase. So the world is changing at a rapid pace. So the same thing with that changes, we see that the Malaysian economy is also transforming. When Malaysia was first got its independence in 1957, agriculture was the main driver of the economy. In 1981, we saw that major shift. Some of maybe your parents will know that this is the Look East policy, big push towards manufacturing under Tun Mahathir. And we saw that manufacturing sector became very strong, electronic sector, and so on. But there was a lot of investment in infrastructure, labor, and so on. So there was a shift in the manpower requirement, the graduates that came out. Most of them worked in the electronic sector. And then we saw from 2001 to 2020, there was a shift towards innovation-led economy. So this is where, a lot of push towards R&D, bringing in new emerging technology, more talent development, and that continues right up to the 11th Malaysia Plan. And more recently, the 12th Malaysia Plan now talk about not just technology, but how do we humanize technology? How does technology value add to every facet of our lives? So we see that for Malaysia to be really competitive, science, technology, innovation is very important. This will enable Malaysia to become a high-tech nation. And this is where the Industry 4.0 technologies are very, very important. And many of you all are STEM graduates, see that what are the core technologies that you need to focus on. So the question is, are we there yet? Is Malaysia ready to embrace Industry 4.0? Are the graduates ready for Industry 4.0? And are they acquiring the right skill sets to not only be gainfully employed in this new economy, but also create employment? So what do we mean by this Industry 4.0 economy, or what we call the new economy? This is an economy which we call a hyper-converged economy, where multiple sectors are converging. And this is due to the digital platforms that are taking place. So we see that products in the farm is now integrated into a more sophisticated supply chain that delivers food to your home. And there's a whole range of background technology that is there that are manning this whole system. So similarly, we see, technologies that give us Uber and, Netflix and all those things are this integrated supply chain. And it looks so simple, but there's a lot of technology and a lot of capability and a lot of, talent that is needed to power this hyper-converged economy. So again, we are starting to see smart factories. The traditional factories used to have a lot of people. We are starting to see less people, but more technology that is, driving our production processes, our supply chain. And you see that, so where are the people? So you must be asking, where is the jobs? Are we going to lose our jobs? What kind of jobs that are going to be emerging? What kind of jobs that graduates are going to be, taking up in this new economy? So we're seeing the changes, new smart factories, smart hospitals, smart schools, whole range of things there where we see that, technology is pretty much driving this. What kind of technologies that are driving this? And this is a study by the World Economic Forum on what are the clear technologies that are driving all these smart factories and, a whole range of things. So I know some of you all may be studying this, the type of the next technologies that are very important, for the next 5 years are things such as cloud computing, big data analytics, Internet of Things, encryption technology, AI. So a whole range of technologies that are going to be very important for industries, for people, for services, and so on. And the type of courses that you take in this area are going to be very important. So whether you are an arts graduate, or whether you are an economics graduate, or whether you are in music, everybody needs to have some competency in the digital technology. I think the last year and a half with COVID, most of us have become very dependent on technology. And this demand is going to increase the demand for skill sets in many of these technologies. So this is a recent study by the World Economic Forum on future jobs on the type of technology. This is a study that my team and I did. We do it regularly. This is in Malaysia. We interviewed 600 over industry captains. Again, what are the top technologies? We see that, mobile technology, digital technology are going to be very, very important in driving our industrial needs and jobs of the future. Again, we went down more detail what kind of technology that Malaysian firms or jobs would require, 5G technology, cybersecurity, very similar to some of the global data, AI systems, and so on. So if you compare the global data and the Malaysian data, it is very, very similar. Not surprising, because most of the Malaysian economy is a very open economy, dependent on foreign multinational companies and Malaysian companies that are becoming more and more international. So there is a globalization of technology that is taking place, and so we need to know what are the top technologies that are being used by some of the leading countries. And here are some of the technologies that our firms are using or see a future demand. So some of you all may be working in this area, in the STEM area, and you see that what are the skill sets, what technology you need to know to be able to be employed or create employment. So I had a chance to work with the Academy of Science Malaysia. Academy of Science Malaysia over the last 5 years has done foresighting of the global technology. So, and as being a fellow of the academy, I worked with them and my research team. Out of the 100 over technologies of foresighting, we clustered the technologies into 10 global STI drivers. So you probably would have heard 4G and 5G is just being rolled out. We are starting to see some countries develop 6G much more faster. So can you imagine? It'll be 3,000 fast, 3,000. The speed will be 3,000 times faster than the current 5G. So can you imagine the kind of technology that will be able to run on the 6G technology? So which universities and which researchers or which students that are working on 5G, 6G, that will be in high demand. The other one is sensor technology, which is increasingly becoming very important. 4D, 5D printing. You have probably heard 3D printing. I'm sure many of your labs may have 3D printing, but most advanced countries are moving towards 4D and 5D printing. And I can go into more details later on in the Q&A. Advanced materials, advanced intelligence systems, AI is going to be an important part of our lives, giving us, when we open up our Facebook or our YouTube, it tells, if you have a particular band you like to listen, suddenly, information from that band comes to you. So there are background AI systems that are looking at your preference and giving you what you want, right? But with that comes also cybersecurity and encryption technology. So if some of you all are working in this area, there's tremendous potential, in terms of demand of jobs in those areas. Augmented analytics and data discovery, that's the area that I work in, on trying to capture data, trying to look at patterns in the data, trying to analyze the data, and then use the data for strategic decision making. Blockchain is increasingly becoming more and more important in most of the service sector. Behind blockchain, there's a lot of technology, AI systems, encryption technology, and so on. So you see that the first 8 technologies are very much tied to Industry 4.0 technologies. The other technology that is very important is neurotechnology, how we study behavior using brain-computer interface, for decision making. Again, tying that, Industry 4.0 technology to decision making. And the last technology that we looked at is actually bioscience technology. And again, you see that a lot of the digital technology is increasingly very important for agriculture, medical, vaccine development, and so on. So working with ASM, out of the 100 over technology, we were able to cluster this technology into 10 core technology. If you click on them, you'll see there are multiple technologies, in this cluster of technology. So we call it the 10 STI drivers for Malaysia. This is global technology. This is technology that every country would be using, so irrespective developed or many developing countries are also investing in this technology. We linked it up to our socioeconomic drivers. So what is the sectors that create jobs that needs this technology? Of course, energy is very important. Key players like Petronas and others are major contributors to our economy. Business and financial service, culture, arts, and tourism. This is very important, particularly it's a major contributor to Malaysian economy. Medical and healthcare services, and you see that with COVID and many other diseases, healthcare is very, very important. It's a basic necessity for all of us. The next one is smart technology and next generation manufacturing. So here, the different types of manufacturing systems, processes, supply chain are starting to happen. You saw earlier the robots. behind the robots are a lot of manufacturing processes and technology. I'm sure some of you all may be working in those areas. Smart cities and transportation is going to be very important for Malaysia. Malaysia is developing. A lot of the cities need more integrated transportation systems, better technology. Food and water is very important also, because food security and water security is critical. I know many of us have had disruptions of water and it can be frustrating. So, water and food are critical for human survival. Agriculture, forestry, education, and environment and biodiversity. So, the environment is a critical part of our society, our economic development. Again, we see that it has an important impact on all the other socioeconomic drivers. So I spoke about the technology drivers and I spoke about the socioeconomic drivers, and this is what we came up with: that how do we bring the two, that the technology can value add to our socioeconomic drivers. So if you are working in 5G, 6G as a graduate, you need to ask the following question. If I'm working in those spectrum areas, the 5G, 6G, how does the knowledge I have contribute to energy or business services or agriculture? Because a lot of the sectors are going to generate the jobs. And if you have key competencies that the sector needs, you see that you create a demand for your job, a demand for your skill sets. So we brought both the technology drivers and the socioeconomic drivers into this matrix. And this is like a motherboard that essentially every dot here shows that how the technology can value add to each of those sectors. So we see that the STI knowledge that you acquire that can create, so this matrix shows that the STI knowledge, the frontier knowledge, can create value for the socioeconomic sectors. And that's where you're going to see the skill sets and the jobs that are going to emerge. But technology alone would not do it. There are a few other things that the graduates need to have to be able to power our socioeconomic drivers. So here is an example that we show how the manufacturing sector, you have all the technologies, the 10 technologies. The combination of this 10 technology will give you new technology, what we call catch-up technology. New types of factories, new types of robotic systems. But we see that the catch-up technology requires a number of technologies coming together. So if you just did spectrum, your scope will be very limited. But if you did spectrum analysis with data analytics, you see that you can combine that to create new technologies, what we call recombinant innovation. But we are also seeing leapfrogging technologies where most advanced countries in the experimental phase are doing major new discoveries, but new discoveries, leapfrogging technology that will take them to the next stage of development. That requires more combination of technologies. So what we are seeing here is that not only having the STEM knowledge, but also multiple knowledge of multiple technology and how it connects to society. So you need to know the core technology, but also the application of those technology, and from there spawns new technology, and that has an impact. So this is manufacturing sector, and when we develop this, so these are some examples of new technology that will emerge, and there are other combinations that we have worked on, and that has an impact on the medical sector, business, financial services, environment, agriculture. So if you are a graduate, you have to ask the question, okay, I'm good in this. Are there other technologies that I need to learn so that I can integrate it to come up with something new, innovations that can have an impact on the different socioeconomic drivers? Again, this is on environment. Environment is going to be very important. So again, how these technologies create new technology that contributes for us to manage our environment, our biodiversity. So here are some of how these 10 technologies are driving change in many countries and driving jobs or creating new jobs and replacing old jobs. And it's got knock-on effect on multiple sectors. This is agriculture. My team, we are working with ASM on a number of these things. like smart plants with embedded biosensors. If you have a biosensor on your plant, when a pest comes and land on it, it'll pick up the sensor will pick up this pest, or this locust that is there. It'll disrupt it so that the pest will leave the plant. So instead of using chemicals, now you can use biosensors. But can you imagine the technology that you need to be able to create that ecosystem? So we're seeing that new technologies are emerging through the combination of these 10 technologies, and that is leading to new applications, new jobs, new skill sets. So again, and that has a knock-on effect on the manufacturing sector, on the environment, energy, water, food. So, and if you download the book that I'll give you the reference, you can see all the applications and the skill sets for the Malaysian economy. It's on the Academy of Science Malaysia webpage. So, graduates need to have multidisciplinary skill sets. They need to be strong in some of the engineering and technology and very strong technical skills, but also being able to apply in different contexts. Here's an example of how artificial intelligence is used in China to tap rubber. You don't see rubber tappers anymore. You see that intelligent systems now are creating that precision cut, that then the getah will actually go through the tube into the factory without any contamination. So everything is AI driven systems, and so one would ask the question, where are the people? How are people going to lose jobs? So here it is. A lot of our agriculture sector is very labor intensive. We have a lot of cheap foreign labor that has got a major impact on Malaysian economy. When we use AI systems like this, we don't have to be dependent on cheap foreign labor, but we create new jobs for Malaysians that now are managing the systems, creating new tools and technology and processes. So we start seeing that skill sets needed to move up the value chain. So what kind of jobs are increasing in demand, right? So I'm going to talk about where you should start thinking about your career and the type of skill sets that you need to have. So this is by the World Economic Forum on the Future Jobs Report. This is October 2020. So there are 20 top jobs, right? So if you see, most of the jobs are in the areas that all of you all are in the STEM areas: data analyst, AI, data specialist, digital marketing. So a lot of Internet of Things specialists. So, and project managers that have good understanding of ICT ecosystem. So pretty much you're starting to see the 10 socioeconomic sectors that I spoke about is underpinned by the technology that is creating value. So if you are in the STEM area, you need to have very strong technical skills, but also strong application skills in many of these areas. And the prediction is that the next 5 years, the demand for these graduates are going to be very high. But where are the jobs that are declining? You see that the traditional jobs are data entry clerks, administrative secretary. A lot of the rudimentary jobs are going to change. Even mechanics, the traditional way of repairing, all that are going to disappear. So again, financial analysts, now financial systems can do things. So many of the jobs that are routine, labor intensive are going to be replaced. Really, one of the key things we are seeing is that some of the studies that show that in the next 5 years, almost 50 to 70% of the jobs will disappear, and you'll have new jobs created. So what kind of competencies that graduates need to have to be able to be employed or create employment? So the type of skill sets that are needed. So besides the technical skills, graduates need to be able to apply the skills in different contexts. So a lot of analytical thinking, innovation-driven thinking, active learning, continuously learning new things, learning new strategies. The learning and adaptability and agility is very important because the world is changing rapidly and you need to have the skill sets to change. Problem solving, critical thinking and analysis is very important. The other one is also, creativity and originality, doing research, trying to find out where the gaps are, what are the new innovation that you need to bring in. So that research inspired teaching and learning is very important. The sixth one is actually leadership skills. I think some of the things that you're doing through society, besides the academic, the other extracurricular activities that gives you leadership skills, like some of them that have, organized this webinar and many, many other things. That how do you bring people together? How do you influence people? How do you make decisions? All that are very important, particularly when you are in the STEM area, that you may develop a new technology, but you need to convince people that this technology is good for them. It's going to make a difference. You need to also know what technology people need. So that requires a fair bit of social understanding and social skills. The other important thing is how to use technology, how to monitor and control tracking, tracing, and also design and development. So these are some of the core skill sets that are needed. The other one is also more of emotional and behavioral, which is resilience, tolerance, flexibility, problem solving. Emotional intelligence is very important. Living in a society that is multi-cultural is really important. I mean, we are very blessed in Malaysia where we are multicultural. We have different societies that we understand, and that makes us more resilient when we go out to the global market, because we are used to multiple languages, multiple cultures, multiple food, and when we go out globally, we are more agile and adaptable. So we see that emotional intelligence also is tied to cross-cultural competence, and not just by people, but we also have cross-cultural because we have a new culture that is emerging, which is cyber culture. So sometimes you have to deal with clients that you've never seen, or so you have to deal with people across oceans through digital. That requires a different type of emotional intelligence. The other one is troubleshooting and understanding what the user's experience are. Service orientation, system analysis, persuasion. These are all people skills. So one is the technical skills, and the other one is the people skills. And that is why the 10-10 is very important. It covers the 10 global technology, but it also covers the 10 socioeconomic drivers that make a difference to people. So what kind of skill sets that are needed in the next 5 to 10 years? And clearly we see that there are foundational skill sets that graduates need to have. Literacy, that means very good understanding, technological literacy, digital literacy, communication literacy, being able to use language. The command of Bahasa in Malaysia is very important. Command of English is very important. And increasingly, we are starting to see Mandarin and others are very important because of the presence of China and other bigger players. So we see that literacy is very important. Numeracy, that means numbers, mathematical skill sets, logic, scientific literacy. It's very important to know what are the future scientific technology that are going to make a difference, that is going to change your job scope, your companies that you run. Digital literacy is also very important. Financial literacy, this is extremely important for graduates. Particularly, how do you manage your finances such that you are able to sustain yourself for a longer period of time? And also I think you probably would have heard recently that most, even some of the best professionals don't manage their finances very well. So this financial literacy is very important if you're running your own company, if you are managing your own finances. And as I mentioned, a cultural competence, cross-cultural competence, different languages, cultures are equally important. And we're seeing that multinational companies are looking for people with this key skill sets. So these are foundational literacy that everybody should have. The other competency is actually about things such as managing complex situations, complex challenges. And the world is becoming more and more complex and more, as I said, the VUCA world, volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. That requires critical thinking, creativity, finding new solutions to problems. Sometimes old solutions or old methods won't work. Communication is critical. Communication with people, the people skill is very important, particularly if you are going to be working in a multinational company or you are going to be the boss and how you manage your workforce. And also communicating, using multiple channels, not just language, but multiple modes of communication, digital. Today we have WhatsApp and Facebook and many more social networking technologies. And how do we communicate using those different platforms? Uh, the 10th one is actually collaboration. We live in a world which is networked, hyper converged, and a collaborative world, collaborative economy. And collaboration is where we see that knowledge and technology transfer is critical. We learn and we also unlearn and relearn, and also not only absorb knowledge but also adapt knowledge and become innovative, and we contribute back to the knowledge. So the collaborative platform is very, very important. So these are skill sets that is needed, the graduate attributes of the future. And the last one is actually character qualities. Job market that is continuously changing and transforming, and that requires us to have that research, the curiosity of knowing the unknown by trying to look at uncertainties and find new solutions. One needs to be really curious. If something is not working, find out why it's not working. What can I do to make a difference? And so the curiosity is very important, and taking the initiative to do it. Actually, a lot of employers look for people who are willing to try different things, and have that persistence. Like, yes, I'm going to get it done. Like the Malaysia Boleh type of attitude, that grit, and adaptability, to be able to adapt to changes. And I spoke about leadership, and I'll come back to some of the leadership skills that is needed, and also the social and cultural awareness of because you're going to deal with many people of different culture, societal, social groups. One needs to be fully aware and understand, so that we are able to contribute to society and people of different social economic status. So, and this 21st century skill is not a skill set after you finish your university, that's it. There's a lifelong learning that takes place, because as I mentioned, the economy is continuously, global markets are continuously changing, and we need to learn, relearn, unlearn. And if we don't do that, we're going to be left behind. I want to touch on the innovator's DNA, and this is really important. There are many references here that you can download and read. They're easy reading. And earlier I spoke about the curiosity, the critical thinking, and I want to show you some examples of how. I think one of the questions is that, how do we stay employed? Technical competence alone is not enough. One needs to be an innovator and have that creative curiosity to try different new things. And I'll show you some examples. So, what are the innovators' DNA? The first discovery skill is this skill of association. You acquire the knowledge to put things together. You may have different things, but piecing it together, as I showed you earlier, the 10 global technology will lead to spawn to new innovations in agriculture. So when you learn something, you ask the question, how does this apply? How does it apply in this context? It's about connectivity, connecting things. And this is what Steve Jobs says. Creativity is connecting things and associating things together. An example is that how eBay came. I'm not sure whether some of you all know eBay. Pierre, looked at how people are looking for collectible items, antique items. But there were advertisements in the papers, and to search for that is very difficult. So what he did was that he created a platform where the advertisements and the products can go simultaneously, and it became a simple platform. People used to use newspapers, but it became an online platform that started creating efficient markets where people across the globe can search for antique items or any items across the globe for a particular price. So what was disjoint? We have collectible antique items classified, which is archaic way of classifying that information. He brought them all together into a platform, and it created eBay, which became a multi-billion-dollar platform. The other skill set that is needed is that uh, always challenge the norm. If something is said, this is how it is, find out, is there a better way to do this? Never rest, on our laurels. We all, when you have the comfort zone, you see that after a while you lose your competitiveness. Always challenge the norm. You see, the best companies always keep reinventing over and over again. So, here, ask questions. Why is this like this? How is this like this? What if I try something different? Right? So, and this is what the innovator's DNA. It's not about technology. It's about the mindset, right? And a good example is that those days when you want to download software or put software, you have to download it and then upload it into your computer. And Mark Benioff said, hey, why are we doing this? Why do we have to have a lot of diskettes, that stores information? Why don't we just download it through the internet, use the internet as a platform to download different versions? And that started off his whole industry on Salesforce, which is a major multi-billion-dollar software that provides services for many companies. The other aspect of the innovator's DNA is always think about the opposite. If this is how it is, what if we did it different? So being a devil's advocate. And I'll give you a very interesting story. You should go and Google these two persons, Barry Marshall and Robin Warren. For thousands of years, people suffered from ulcer in the stomach, right? And everybody thought it was gas or, you ate something. But Barry Marshall and Robin Warren thought that it is not about, gastric and things. It may be a bacteria, right? So, and what they did was that they tested it out. And at that time, to do the trials is difficult. How you want to put in somebody's stomach and look at the wounds that are coming up, ulcers. So the ethical protocols were very difficult. So what Barry Marshall did was that he developed an antibiotic for it, and he wanted to test how successful it is. He actually took the T. pylori helicobacter, bacteria which causes the ulcers. He took it himself. And for a few days, he started getting ulcers and he was getting very sick. And he got Robin Warren to administer these antibiotics to show that, this is a bacteria, that antibiotic can resolve this. What was thousands of years, many people suffered by this, trying something different, thinking something different. He was able to discover an antibiotics, a way to solve stomach ulcers, and including, that leads to cancer and so on. The T. pylori bacteria, which now could be addressed. Now, whenever somebody has a gastric, they will do a test, and if it is T. pylori, a course of antibiotics will cure it. But here, this is where you see that, the brave ones will try different things, and through that comes new discovery. He won a Nobel Prize for this discovery. The other one is embracing constraints. Whenever we have constraints, like you see, COVID had many constraints, but we are now talking digitally. I think prior to COVID, we would have, I have to probably come to where you are, but today we are doing this online. So sometimes imposing constraints, we need to look at new solutions. And I'll show you some examples of how we have done this. Palm oil used to be a major, we used to get a lot of difficulties. Palm oil is a major commodity for us. And there was a lot of health warning and banning of palm oil. But what we did was that palm oil created a lot of jobs and important for socioeconomic, development. So because of that moratorium and challenges in more advanced markets, we started diversifying it. So we created new revenue stream, new applications for our palm oil, biofuel, soap, and cosmetic. If we did not do this, the demand for palm oil will go down. That'll have an impact on people's jobs and the economy. So we had to find new solutions. Very similar to the COVID, right? COVID prevented people from going to universities and classes, but most institutions, completely transformed to have online education. So sometimes we've got to think about constraints to find new solutions. Observing is also an important part of the innovator's DNA. And we see that, here's an example, of how Ratan Tata saw that in, India, that people have a lot of children and they use a motorbike to carry people. It's very dangerous. They can't afford a car. So he gave a challenge to his workforce to say, come up with a car for 2,500 USD. So he gave them a time, and their researchers worked, and they developed a car called Nano, which is about 2,500 USD. So we see that by observing some of the challenges of society, and putting in the right technology and the mindset, you can discover new solutions. Experimentation is very important, an integral part of an innovator's DNA, and we see that how experimentation, you got to try it. It's okay, you fail, you learn new things. It's what Edison said. I have failed, I haven't failed. I've simply found 10,000 ways to do, ways that do not work. So you learn from, the failures. Here again, some examples of how Amazon emerged. We used to go to a library to read things, but today we can get a lot of online books. And this is through, various experimentation of what worked for suppliers and so on. And today we see that Amazon is a major industry, that we have a lot of, books that you can download and obtain. I spoke about networking. And networking is, besides having a qualification, having, working with people, collaboration, learning skills to communicate, being an effective communicator in diverse languages, having that emotional intelligence, being able to share your ideas and insights, convincing people to try different things, and to be ambidextrous. That means you have an individual view, but also collective perspective. So you're able to bring, individuals and groups together. So that requires a fair bit of leadership skills. So I really encourage all of you all that besides doing your technical courses, take courses from other faculties on social science, psychology, philosophy, and also communication and leadership skills. So that'll really help you a lot. It helped me a lot when I was in undergraduate university in the mathematics department, which is purely mathematics. I took philosophy, sociology, psychology, and also a course in English communication. So when you become a good communicator, you are part of the entire society. You become the fabric or the glue that brings everything together. You may have people with different views, but you can bring them all together. It's what K. Foster says, that they are like being connected to the greater whole, but by no means do they need it. So they are strong on their own, but they can bring people together. And that is what leadership is. And the last one is actually, instead of always finding which gives me the highest salary, or which gives me, profit maximizing, or a firm that say, okay, how do I maximize my profit? To become a purpose maximizer. That means you have a greater core. So you're not looking at return on investment, but you're looking at return on value, you see the society is moving towards a value-based society. If you can create value, automatically you see that you create jobs, you create income streams, and so on. And, as what Jeff Bezos says, we do this to make history, not just to get a job, but really to make a difference. And that's the inspiration that makes, a person from an ordinary to a leader, right? A follower to a leader. Here's another one by Steve Jobs. He says, why do you do this? He said, I want to put a ding in the universe. I want to make a difference to people, right? And the last one is actually, all of you all know Skype, right? I mean, Nicholas Zentrum says that, to be disruptive. You know, if you don't disrupt, others are going to disrupt you. So why not you disrupt, and it becomes a positive disruption to the entire market. And you see that, Skype at that time was very early, but today from Skype you see Zoom and a lot of other technologies that have emerged that is very disruptive, but it actually made life better for many people. I remember making international calls very expensive, and today we can do it through Zoom and others much more cheaper. So, the top companies, the top, people in the world have this purpose maximize. How do I make a bigger difference than just getting a salary or creating a company? So we see that not just STEM knowledge, but this innovator's DNA is really critical in for us to be successful in what we do. So I always tell people that I don't have a job. I have a hobby that pays me really well. And that is because of this mindset that, it's not about salary, but you really need to enjoy what you do. And so to come back, so we see that the 1010 brings the technology and the socioeconomic drivers, and we see that jobs of the future are going to be the interface between the two, and that requires good technical skills and transformational leadership skills. And I encourage all of you all to pick up, the technical skills. You'll get it in your degree course, but the transformational leadership skills, pick up courses from other faculties, volunteer in society and other things that make a difference using your technical skills. Here's an example. Some of you are STEM graduates. How do you use your STEM knowledge to help the Orang Asli to connect or get access to services using digital applications or platform, or the B40 community, or the different vulnerable communities where you can design and develop new tools to make their lives better. And through that application, it enhances your innovation, creativity, but anchoring on your STEM knowledge. So, and if you did that, you will really enjoy your studies. You would really enjoy your career. As I said, I always tell my students, I don't have a job. I have a hobby that pays me really well. So why innovation matters, and it's what Theodore Levitt said, that creativity is thinking up new things, innovation is doing things. So idea is really important. You need to translate that idea into something that has an impact on you and the people that matter to you. And Steve Jobs says innovation is the ability to see change. And we are living in a world that is changing very fast, and there are a lot of opportunities, and not as a threat. And we're going to see our economy transform, and the knowledge that you have, STEM knowledge, and the knowledge that you have, the other skill sets that you bring together will help you to become more agile, more resilient, and more adaptable to the change. But if you don't make that change, the Darwinian law will take over. And Darwin says that it is not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent that survives. It is the ones that is most adaptable to change. And if you don't change, if we don't change, our skill sets become out of date. It'll be hard for us to be employed, nor can we create any new employment that will have a major impact on the quality of our lives. So the STEM knowledge that you have, the leadership skills that you acquire, the innovator's DNA that you develop, that enables you to continuously be adaptable, agile, and responsive to change, is what will create new jobs for you and others, and new employment opportunities, and will enhance your socioeconomic status. Terima kasih. Thank you.
I'd like to applaud you on that, Professor Mahendhiran. Thank you so much. I myself learned a great deal listening and looking at all of your slides. I'm sure all of our viewers today also are really inspired after what you've just talked about. And you have definitely helped us raise several important questions, especially those of us who are about to graduate, and we're still figuring out what we're going to do next. I personally would like to say that when it comes to educating ourselves, or with regards to education, for that matter, here in Malaysia, I think a lot of us students, we've gotten so used to the habit of focusing on the exam. We always look, it's always exam oriented for us, so we're always studying to get that A. When it comes to work, we're always working hard to get that money. We always, we're working towards getting that sort of convenience for ourselves, as compared to what you just emphasized on, which is, to maximize purpose. And when you maximize purpose, when you prioritize on purpose, where your job or your studies are concerned, things open up for you, and you become a lot more inspired. You tend to enjoy what you do.
Yeah.
Like you said, and I quote unquote, I don't have a job, I have a hobby that pays me well. And I think at least for me, as a second year student, I definitely would want that. I definitely, in the process of studying, enjoy studying, and at the same time, I'm looking forward to getting into a career, which I can personally say I deeply enjoy doing, and that it's something that I like doing, and not something that I feel I have to do for the sake of other reasons that are not in my favor, for example.
Yeah.
So
I totally agree. Be an explorer. All the knowledge and skill
yeah,
sets that you
yeah,
have, be an explorer. Explore new frontiers. In the process, you learn and you also help others.
absolutely,
And okay.
yeah, yeah. So
So I mean, I
thank you,
know that
Professor, for that
a lot of
informative
students are
presentation.
so a lot of students are caught up with their grades, and grades are important. I must say the grades are important. But if you enjoy what you study and you see the applications, of course, you're going to learn a lot of theories and so on. But if you put it to practice, if you apply it and you enjoy what you do, you see that you do very well in the examination. And you don't have to mug because the concepts are come together much more easier. I am one person, I can't memorize things. I have to figure it out, right? And when you figure it out, then you can actually it's much more easier.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Professor Mahendran. Now we will have a Q&A session. Those who are curious to know more from Professor Mahendran, please do leave your questions in the comment section below, and we will get right to it. So to start off the Q&A session, while we wait for our audience members to key in their questions, I will get started with one question for you, Professor, and that is, you you started off your studies, in mathematics, mainly mathematics, and that in the process had led you to discovering more of economics. So
Yeah.
what was it like, uh, being being part of those classes, but in the meantime, in the process, taking part in another class which was not necessarily part of your course.
Yeah. I think it's one of the things I learned. I did pure mathematics in my undergraduate, pure mathematics, and but I had a lot of elective subjects, and I had some elective subjects. So I did uh, psychology, I did philosophy. So it opened up my mind. I didn't do too well. I passed, just great. I got 56 and 58%. So and whereas the math courses and all, I was doing very well. So these courses were tough because it's, for a mathematics graduate, from STPM, all those mathematics, and also the English level was very high. So I took an English course. So, but these actually helped me because the psychology taught me how to think about human behavior. The philosophy talked about broader things. Although I didn't do too well, those are the courses I think about every day, even till now. Even though I don't think about some of the mathematics, but it thinks about. So I really encourage people to. I know a lot of technical people will not want to take these courses because it's so hard, but it actually teaches you much more broader way. And it taught me how to use mathematics in studying behavior, and in studying philosophy, and legal issues and so on. I also did another besides I did physics. So I really like physics. My mentor was Albert Einstein, right? So I always had this thing. We had this sort of imagination is more important than knowledge, right? So maybe that's stuck in my mind, and so sometimes it's good to dream, but you need to have a strategy to realize that dream, right? So I did a lot of physics courses, first year, second year, quantum, as an elective, and I saw how the application of mathematics came in. And when I took a first year course in economics, then I saw, hey, the same principle in the universe applies to human behavior. So I started applying those physics concept in studying the economic behavior. And this is where I saw, wow, the applications, we're talking about humans in different ways, right? And so a lot of my work today is using a lot of physics and mathematical concepts to study human behavior, to study, relationships. That's why looking at patterns and trying to understand why these patterns are there, why people behave this way, why markets behave this way, right? So you see that I talk about the association, right? So when you study mathematics or physics, and then you study philosophy and sociology, some point when you're thinking, merenung, when you're thinking how all this come together, and suddenly see one fine day you see that the relationships, the associations start coming in place. That innovator's DNA starts clicking. And that's what made me move from doing mathematics to statistics to then I say, hey, I want to apply this and let me study economics, right? Actually, I was supposed to be a physicist, to be an astrophysicist. I wanted to be that, but I ended up doing economics, but using all the tools in economics, finance, and I think I made the right decision because I was able to use these technical skills to help study economic behavior, poverty, and so on, but using technical skills. So again, you don't know where you'll end up, but that's what explorers do, right? They don't know where they end up, but they know they're going somewhere.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. All right, thank you. Um, okay, I have. Are there any questions from the floor? Has anyone got a question for us, for Professor Mahendran? All right, so far no. All right.
Can I ask in Bahasa?
Just now, Professor. Yeah, yes.
Boleh
The
tanya
audience
dalam
members,
bahasa pun.
you can, of course, yeah, you can always ask us in a language that you're comfortable in, either Malay or English.
Yeah.
By all means, go ahead. Professor Mahendran would gladly love to answer. Professor, just now, when I was introducing you, your field, STIE, right? Innovation and economics and econometrics. The how with those of us who aren't familiar with this line of work, could you tell us a little bit about what your research involves, and how has your research played a role in our country's development at different stages?
Yeah. So I'm actually I did a lot of data modeling and so on, and I was quite keen on development economics, and as you probably know, I was interested in studying poverty, why people are poor, and so on. So that was always in my mind, and so I started using a lot of data to collect data to study these behaviors, a lot of conceptual ideas. So it started off with development economics. Then I realized that I got a project, a government grant, competitive grant on studying ICT. So I had to spend some time in, going to the kampongs, the rural areas, the estates, to study human behavior. I spent about 6 to 7 months in these locations, how technology can make a difference. And then I saw the connection between technology and people, right? And I had a Korean researcher with me, and I wanted to see how technology will have an impact, but he says, no, 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 observe what they do every day. Don't intervene first.
Mm.
So it is about
Mm.
studying human behavior day to day, and then think about how the technology can value add. So I learned about bringing the human centric understanding behavior, and then how technology can slowly be brought in, right? So that is a fantastic lesson I learned, and of course we published a lot of papers from there. Then from ICT I moved to other technologies and saw how technology had an economic impact. So normally people say STI, so I've linked it up to STIE, economic development. How do we make people's welfare better, and developing new models, forecasting
Ah.
tools, so what are the causal impacts, why do people become poor, what are the factors that are driving this, what policies could make the difference, can we have assess the impact analysis. All that requires mathematical modeling and statistical modeling and so on. So and that's how I got interested in science, technology, innovation, economic development. You'll see I also do behavioral econometrics. So I do a lot of work on studying uh, how do people make decisions. And more recently, now I'm doing some studies on, uh, because of COVID, how the psychological state of people impacting their decision, jobs, emotional. So trying to study that, and how can we put in intervention to help them cope with this. So it's really exciting work. So it cuts across medicine, psychology, engineering. And that is why if you have very strong STEM skills, when you start applying those 10 socioeconomic drivers, you see that your application, you see that, some of the things you learn can be applied in different contexts. So I tell people that, if you learn the right skills, you can play in everybody's field.
I'd
There's some
agree with
questions
that
there. What,
too. Yeah.
pardon?
I'll read out this question from a fellow viewer named Hawani Shahira.
Yeah.
What are the career prospects for STEM graduates almost 2 years now into the pandemic? Could you give us some tips on what certifications a graduate should have that are essential in the current industry?
So for example, if you see what are the key impacts of the pandemic, of course, in the healthcare sector, it has got a major impact, right? So if you are, want to go into the healthcare sector, work in the healthcare sector, right? Then you need to know how the technology can, whatever skill sets you have, are you developing new applications or new technology or new systems for healthcare? COVID-19 is not the only pandemic. There may be future pandemics, right? How do we prepare for the pandemics? How do we develop and design better healthcare management systems? Another example is that we saw that the zoonotic diseases, that means diseases that are jumping from animals to human beings, right? How do we stop that transmission? How do we detect it early? What kind of technology do we need to have? What kind of management systems that we need to put in place? So that is in the healthcare. Let's look at in the case of financial services. Uh, People don't want to go to the banks anymore because of COVID and so on. How do we design and develop new financial services that can deliver for everybody, right? New apps, Let's look at tourism. How, during a pandemic, tourism was impacted. How do we create archives or digital, databases and, technology that gives us that, this e-touring, touring digitally to be able to see, all those different sites, to learn, archive sites, creating a national database of a digital repository of all our, archives, culture and heritage. So we see that, where there is constraint, technology, better systems, knowledge systems can enable one to do this. If you are in the dance field, right, or exercise, yoga, or other exercise, right? I mean, the gyms may not be open or the centers, so you can create digital content that could be there now be productized, where you can train people in dance or exercise. You can design and develop your own workout routines. If you choreograph very nice dance things or music, it could be used as advertisements for others, right? And so on. So this developing new digital content is going to be really important. One of the jobs is content developers. You can work for a marketing company. They may have, Christmas coming or Hari Raya coming. Say, I want a digital something, advertisement. Again, designing, developing digital content is very important. Not just for tourism, but healthcare services. How we use energy, how we use water. So the digital platform is going to be very important to be able to touch all the socioeconomic drivers, including environment.
Okay. Wow, that actually, um, I think uh, that was actually some of what you have just said. Uh, is sort of like approaching much of our large scale problems with what can be considered simple
Yeah.
solutions. Of course,
So
these
there is
simple
some.
solutions require,
Yeah.
they require some thought and yeah.
So there is this thing called Twin Cities. If you go
So
and Google it, it's a Malaysian
thank
company.
you. I hope Hawani's question got answered.
Yeah. I want to say one example. If you go and do, it's a Malaysian company
Okay.
called Twin
All right. All
Cities.
right.
Twin Cities is that actually they designed the entire city on digital platform, and they can do simulation. If a flood happens, what do we need to do? If a disaster happens, what should you do? So a real city, we create a twin city in digital, and you do all kinds of simulation so that you can prepare for pandemic, you can prepare for disaster, you can prepare, design. So it's completely a different architectural design, the type of jobs that you create. So again, I always tell people, most people say that, you have to think out of the box, right? I tell them there is no box. We artificially create the box, we sit in the box, and all our lives we try to get out of the box. There's no box. If you take this, as I mentioned earlier,
Well said.
strong technical skills, leadership skills, the universe is there for you to discover. There's
Absolutely.
a question here.
Okay, we have another question from one of our very very well known seniors from UTHM. His name is Ukasha Irfan. So his question is, hello Prof. I am Ukasha, physics student from UTHM. In your opinion, can this advanced technology like AI, virtual reality, and neurotechnology bring harm to humans maybe 50 to 100 years ahead?
So here it is. Whatever we do, we need to assess the good things and also the negative effects. We need to develop better protocols, better ethics, better standards, better, all those regulations are very important. There is a lot of thinking now on AI systems, the access to data, how people use the data, all those things. Yes, we need to ensure that whatever technology that we bring in, or whatever new innovation, we have proper regulation, governance systems in place. Now, here it is. You may be very good in the technical part, but if you learn something on law, or if you learn something on ethics, you can combine the two. Now you may be designing new regulation, new standards, new protocols, because you've got very good technical skills, but now you've got good legal skills. So I know people who have very strong technical skills, went on to do law, and then became a advisor on how legal legislations and others are implemented or designed for some of the legal from the technologies. So again, yes, we need to ensure that whatever we bring in, we minimize or mitigate the risk and the harm to society and the planet, you know. So, but again, that opens up new fields of studies for people.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, we have another question from Visruti Ramesh. So, Professor, as a STEM student, I always wonder, have you thought of or encouraged students to dig deep into more of the history and the origin of the topic or the subjects as an appreciation towards the scientists who contributed to it?
Yes, this is essential. One of the things that one of the gift that I got from, at that time, my girlfriend, which is now my wife, was a book of mathematicians. All the top mathematicians, right? A biography, and some of them are very challenging, difficult, but still they were able to discover new things. And the autobiography of great people become an inspiration for all of us. And I'm one person that whenever I study something, I want to know the history of that person. What motivated them? What inspired them to discover this? And is there something that I can learn from them? And the best way to be an explorer is to study another explorer on how they became an explorer. The best way to become a
Mm,
business person, the best business person, is find out what made Steve Jobs Steve Jobs, right? Or what made Einstein Einstein. And so the autobiography is so important. I'm so glad you raised this issue. If you come to my home, you'll see so many books of great people that, in mathematics, in physics, in statistics, that I read and got inspired and said, this is what I want to do. Right? So I
wonderful.
tell them, I love school so much, I decided to stay in school forever.
Yeah, I think when you put it that way, people, especially students listening now, would definitely feel that they have the chance to actually change the way they
Yeah,
feel about going to
yeah,
an institution or a school.
yeah,
You'd want to be in there because it's no longer a place where you have to mug stuff. It's more of a place where you learn just about anything there is possibly to learn.
yeah. So the human spirit is amazing. If you are fertile and if you are hungry and if you are inspired, uh, even the most not well developed seed will bloom beautifully, right? The ground that we create. But if you have the most fertile seed, and if your ground is not fertile, it will not grow. So the ground is us, the mind, and a simple idea that, a professor or somebody throws, you take it and you chew on it and you assimilate it and you see, wow, something beautiful comes out. And that's what I think all of you all have the opportunity to be in the university. It doesn't matter which university. I went to a very small university, and I was rejected by many universities, but I got a small university, and I just cherished that. I used that in the best possible way, and then went on to other bigger universities. So it all starts with us, you see, and who inspires you. So I'm so glad you asked that question. To read about inspirational people and know how they became great people. uh, is the end is not the thing. How they got there is more important for us.
Absolutely. Okay, we have another question from our friend Rauda Amran. As we know, Singapore and Thailand, as such countries, encourage youth to pursue careers in STEM. What can we do to encourage more of our youth to pursue STEM so that we can be as competent as the mentioned countries?
I'm glad you asked this question. Um, I asked the question, what inspired me to do mathematics? It's the teachers, right? If the teachers are inspiration, the teaching ways are inspirational, the student becomes interested in it. I was very fortunate that I had a mathematics tambahan teacher, excellent teacher. He taught the mathematics tambahan and mathematics lanjutan. He showed how the applications are, and that really inspired me to say I want to do this. So even he's teaching, he's talk about Einstein, he talk about all these different people, and that's what made me interested in it. So if you make teaching exciting, interesting, related to all the things that we see in our day to day, that makes the graduates be excited. So I always, I teach and I try to bring different things to my classroom. I take my students out to see things and then how to do the modeling and give them real data to work with, and some of them work with the policy work with me. Some of them from undergraduates, they have now gone on to do their PhD, and some of them are working with me in research team. So that inspiration is very important. Sometimes we may not have someone who's teaching us that are inspirational, but we have to then do it, a lot of it ourselves, learn, become inspirational, have a group of friends that are inspirational, and then maybe even inspire some of our people that teach us and so on. So, and I think sometimes we have to take that initiative. You see, we are lucky we get some professor who's really excited, and but a lot of it starts with us. And what is it that you want to achieve in life? What is it that you want to become? And no barrier should stop you. So what I used to do is that summer holidays, a lot of people go on holidays. So I know, okay, next semester I'm going to take this subject. I'll buy the book and I'll study it on my own, do all the questions behind the book. So when the semester comes, I'm quite ready. So it's that kind of hunger that one needs to have, is it?
I think that definitely during the holidays, people, I know a lot of students nowadays, because they're occupied, with doing part-time work and studying and doing this and
Yeah,
doing that,
yeah, I understand
especially
that.
during now the pandemic. you
Yeah.
know they but this is a nice way to put it. This is to be able to have the drive, either through the educator or through yourself.
So what I was lucky that what I used to do is I used to look for research assistant jobs. Any professor putting out for RA
uh,
jobs. So during the summer, instead of working in McDonald's or somewhere else, I will look for a RA job, do some literature search or write some computer programming. So you get paid, but you enjoy the work that you do. So you have to be a little bit strategic, right? And then slowly what
mm,
happened was that the professor likes your work and say, hey, why don't you do your master's with me? Or I get you a scholarship, or that's how I ended up getting a lot of the scholarships to go on and pursue my study. So when you're in the university, look out for professors that are doing work, RA work. They need someone to do some things, and slowly you build that relationship, and you see that it could be a very productive. My PhD supervisor really supported me all the way. So be very strategic, and it's a win-win for everybody. So instead of working in other places, look for RA jobs. You are, in the library, you're doing, and sometimes you may start off an RA work and eventually you may work in that area that you end up doing your master's or PhD and maybe doing other things. So
okay. All right, so we have a follow up from Visruti Ramesh. Also, professor, growth of technology contributes a lot, But at the same time, don't you think it also limits a person's imagination, as everything is answered towards curiosity? Uh, I hope I asked that. I hope I posed that question correctly.
So, technology is not the end; it's the means to acquire knowledge, right? So always, this is what people have done. This is the technology. As I always, if you look at my lecture earlier, I said always ask question, why is this like this? Is there a better way of doing things? Can I use this to learn new things? Be a devil's advocate. Why can't we do it differently? If you go back to my lectures, you'll see that those questions you need to ask, so that you don't think, okay, this is status quo, I should take it for granted. A good scientist and explorer will not take things for granted because somebody said this, so I should follow. No, you should try it out yourself. Does it work for you? Can I do this better? And this is what the research mindset, the creative mindset is. You see? So, yes, technology is very important. But at the same time, you don't. Technology is an enabler of creativity. It should not straitjacket or curtail your creativity.
Mm, okay, okay, all right. I hope that answered your question, Vishruti. All right. Another follow up from Ukasha, Saudara Ukasha. Another question, Professor. What is your opinion with our current STEM academic syllabus in university? It's like university ialah kilang kepada industri. Do we need to make a systematic shift in our education system?
I think there is a balance, right? So one needs to make sure that the skill set you have contribute to society. Society means includes industry, includes people, includes everything, right? So here it is. You acquire the skills, and as I said to you, if you are able to nurture the technical skills and the leadership skills, as I mentioned, the innovators DNA, you see that you are not just another workforce for industry. You actually
Mm,
become an
mm,
innovator that will transform the industry or lead new industry, or wherever your organization you go, you lead it. So it is about that innovation and creativity. So it depends on where you peg yourself. If you say, I'm just getting the qualifications to get a job, that's all it's going to be. But if you say, I'm going to acquire the skill sets to contribute to society, discover new things, in the process, I may make the company I work better. I may provide leadership. So, or I may lead my own company, or, I may choose something that I want to discover. So you have a choice. And unfortunately, most people are just saying, I want to get a qualification to get a job. That's good, but it's very narrow. But take a broader perspective of the innovator's DNA. And I'm very certain that if you did that and you go for an interview and you present that, immediately the top companies will say, look, this person I want to hire, not just to work here, but the next generation leader. The next 10 to 20 years, this person is going to lead the company. I'm going to invest in that person, send them for training. So you see that the mindset is very different. I hire a lot of workforce in the labs and in research centers, and I was also a CEO of a R&D company. I look out for these innovators, this the next generation leaders, right? And they're very different. So, it is not just a profession, but how you're going to transform that profession and create value for everyone. And in the process, you create value for yourself too.
well said. Well said. I agree with that completely too. Ukasha, I hope Professor answered your question for you. We have one more question from another viewer.
I'll tell you one story
UN1.
on this. I'll
Yes.
tell you one story. Let me tell you one story.
Sure, sure. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I went for an interview, and they asked me a lot of questions, and I answered the question. Then they asked me, "Do you have a question?" And I asked them a question. Can you tell me what is it that you uh, can So they asked me what skills you bring, how can you value add to the company. So I reversed the question and said, what can you do to create value for me to create value for you? Right. So
Right.
they were shocked. They said, what do you mean? I said, look, I'm not looking for a job. I'm looking for making your company better. You know, how can you support me and, for me to create that value, right?
Mm.
And they really knew, okay, this is a different. So, and I always look out for that graduates, right? That, this person is thinking about not just a salary, but thinking about the future, right? And that's what I
Mm.
think we need to start thinking, the value.
Yeah, I think it all falls back, to the same situation of employees, employers, basically a whole community of people, professionals, who are in it because they want to be, because they are inspired to create and to be able to contribute to
Yeah,
society in the process, and not just, oh, I'm just here to earn my monthly wages and go,
yeah.
all right.
The
We
job
have
becomes
one
very
more one
difficult.
more
Yeah,
question.
sure.
Yeah, it does. We have one more question from UUN Lam. uh, what happens to vocations that had the hands-on training, the old school ways, in the future? Does that require everyone to set out to relearn new skills?
So, what do we mean by hands-on training? Hands-on training means experiential learning, right? Right. So, experiential learning
Yeah.
means even in the vocational, you still, you learn the theory, you put it to practice, you know, and the way you put it to practice is that you may use better digital system, better connecting to society, designing new apps to work with society on the ground, finding solutions to problems on the ground. So the vocations now, hands-on training is what we call experiential learning, right? And you get the experience, and that's always the case, even in engineering, right? If you study engineering or applied sciences, the hands-on training is there, is the internship, and all those things are part of the experiential learning. It's not old school, it's the right school way of doing things, and that we learn theory, we put it to practice, and also teaching people to learn solid foundational knowledge, but also applying it in different contexts, as I showed the 21st century skill sets, right? In the old profession, we say it's hands-on, actually it's experiential learning.
Mm.
So we have, yes, we have to learn new skills. We have to have new platforms of learning, new modes of learning, experiential learning, right? So before we used to go, if you're a marketer, you'd go to door to sell your products, find out whether the products are good or not. But today we don't do that anymore, right? Everything is done on
Yeah.
your apps, and then you rate it there and then, right? And once you get your
Yeah.
products, they use the product, they rate it. So now you have digital tools to do all those analytics, right? So it's a different way of experiential learning. Before they call up, sir, did you like your products? Not anymore. The telemarketing, everything is gone, right? So it's now all done on. So the experiential learning is a different type of experiential learning. And this is why I said that the digital skill sets are very important. The digital communication is very important. What we speak and what we write may be very different. When we write an essay or when you write on a platform, or it's very different. So we need to pick up those competencies. Yes, we need to relearn new skills.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Professor. um, I have one more question,
Sure.
and that is, we were just talking about, getting set, getting our graduates set for the new phase of IR 4.0, and that is, cyber and physically integrated systems. Um, like, personally, for me, there are certain things which I prefer being done the conventional way. Having someone actually provide a service like physically, in person, or even when it has to do with me, to actually put out that physical labor to in order to produce something. So um, with regards to us being prepared to adapt to this new change, what's your take on just how much we should uh, prioritize on IR 4.0? Should we let go completely of physically involved labor in order to adapt to this, or can we still live with some of it, some of the traditional ways?
So this is where we speak about humanizing technology, right? We still need the human touch. There are some things that you need the people touch, right? No doubt about it. Some things, when you're speaking to people, sometimes they prefer human touch, right? As opposed to synthesized sounds, right? Or clicking. Yes. So it's a balance between the two. So there are some people that need personalized, they need a human touch. Yes, we need. But there are also moments where that can be expensive. That could be time consuming. So, but if you're dealing with a wider market and wider group of people, you see that the digital platform will help. So you have a hybrid where you have to cater for the mass, but you also cater for specialized for those who need it. So I see that the humanizing. So a lot of the services will move in that direction, but the younger generation, are what I call digital citizens. They were born with the digital. I am a digital immigrant. During my time, it was not there. I had to learn. So I'm an immigrant, right? So immigrant always have the hesitation, right? Whereas the younger generation were all digital citizen, but now they are, social network citizens. So the platforms that they are born with is very different, and they are more attuned to it. They prefer that services. As a matter of fact, in my university, after the COVID, we opened up. We want more students to come, but many students prefer to do it digitally, right? Because, and I can understand that if I was a student, I would do the same thing. I don't have to wake up for an 8 o'clock class, 6 o'clock, take the bus, drive, traffic jam. 8 o'clock class, I wake up at 7:59 in my pajamas with a cup of coffee, and I can listen to lecture, right? So so
Absolutely, yeah.
if you want to cater for, so it's a hybrid, right? So some would need personalized, yes, you cater that. Some, but majority would prefer, and that gives you economies of scale and scope. Economies of scale means you can, cater for a wider market with a cheaper cost. Scope means now you can personalize the services. If you want digital way, we can do it digital way. If you want hybrid, we can do it hybrid. If you want more personal, so you can, that's called economies of scope. So this platform enables you to get economies of scale, which cuts your cost down, brings your cost down. Scope, you get personalized, services.
Okay, all right. Oh, we have one more question from Visruti Ramesh.
Sure.
She is asking, Professor, nowadays certain scopes of work are being filled in or filled up more by people, and certain other jobs are being left out, which in the coming years will probably be extinct. So do you think job selection must be based on its contribution and concern,
So
and the
here it is.
concern
It's not about
for
job
for for the,
selection.
for the job? I think that's what.
So it's not about the jobs that you select, but find out what competencies that are needed and what competencies that you have, right? Certain jobs, it's not about qualification, but competencies, right? So you may have a degree, but you may not have the competencies. So you may want to take some micro credentials and others to build that competencies. And so my thinking in this is that yes, there are some jobs that are going to disappear, because those competencies are not needed. And I showed you earlier the type of jobs. But we know there are some jobs that will need a new way of doing things, new competencies. Maybe the skill sets that you got trained in the university may not be relevant, or may be relevant today but may not be relevant tomorrow. So you need to find out what are the skill sets that make that industry sunset industry. That means the industries that are disappearing and the industries that are going to emerge, sunrise industries. Earlier I showed you some of, and there's a lot of people that are doing a lot of studies, including my research team, that what are the jobs of the future, what kind of competencies that are needed. So in today's lecture, I spoke about multidisciplinary skills, being ambidextrous. Having ambidextrous means good knowledge in a particular science area, but broad knowledge in the application area. So, you have, depth in some areas, but breadth in other areas. It gives you, so you are able to, manage your risk in terms of, getting jobs. So, and so you've got to build those competency and also the ability to learn new things and learn quickly, and that's one of the key things. And that is why it's continuous learning is very important in this new economy. Otherwise, you're going to be out of the job. So you have to constantly learn new things, you see. So, as I said, lifelong
Right.
learning.
Okay. Thank you, Professor.
So look out
All
for
right.
studies that people do, the foresighting, where the profession is going,
Okay.
and ask, do you have the competency? Okay.
All right. I hope I'm not interrupting, Professor.
No, I'm okay. I'm done. I think, yeah, go ahead. Happy to take any other questions.
Okay. All right. Okay. I think there was a bit of a time delay for me. Okay. All right. So I think we'll close the Q&A for tonight, and I'm sure many many of us, many of our viewers also, including me, are now aware of what we can do to prepare for our careers in STEM, and have equally been inspired by our session with Professor Mahendhiran today. Thank you so much, Professor Mahendhiran,
Okay,
for
very good.
taking the time to share your insights on what a fresh graduate should equip himself or herself with to lead our nation into Malaysia's IR 4.0. We look forward to having you again with us in the future, Professor. Thank you so
No problem.
much. And to my fellow audience, thank you so much for participating in the Q&A session. I myself have learned a lot from the questions that you have asked and the answers that Professor has given. And I feel even more inspired to take my studies on as a fresh degree student. So that's all for tonight. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
Dengan berakhirnya perbincangan itu tadi, maka berakhirlah program webinar STEM 3.0 pada malam ini. Terima kasih sekali lagi diucapkan kepada Profesor Mahendhiran Sanggaran NAIR di atas kesudian bersama-sama kami pada malam ini. Terima kasih juga diucapkan kepada semua yang terlibat secara langsung dan tidak langsung dalam webinar pada malam ini. Diharapkan agar anda di luar sana sentiasa jaga diri, jaga SOP dan semoga berada dalam keadaan yang baik. Diingatkan kepada semua peserta untuk mengisi link kehadiran yang tertera di chat box. Tanam sirih dalam tanaman, gali lubang tepi perigi. Terima kasih hadirin budiman, lain kali bersua lagi. Itu sahaja daripada saya. Nama saya Arunagiri Seyuan Lam. Selamat malam semua.
Thank you. Selamat malam.
Good night, Professor. Thank you so much.
Good night.
Thank you so
See you
much.
then. Take care.